Close your eyes and imagine. You're a kid in 1981, and you've started to hear rumors of a new arcade cabinet at the arcade by the mall. You and a few friends decide to head over there hoping to get a chance to play. The line is long, and you wait patiently hoping to get to try the most sought-after game in the place. Then, you finally get in front of the machine, and you're immediately hooked. Colors, shapes, graphics like you've never seen before, but in the blink of an eye, it's all over. In fact, it's been 3 hours and you remember not a single minute of it. Then, on your way home, you feel a little twitch in your brain and everything goes black. This is the story of Polybius, the mind control arcade game. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the I'm Not Crazy podcast. My name is Andrew Venor. I'm your host. Last time I just said Andrew, and I don't know why. Today, I am joined by a recurring guest, I was going to say beautiful cousin, but I don't feel that way.
Oh,
Matthew Provenzano.
Thank you for having me.
Provenzano.
I appreciate
Provenzano. Provenzano.
Provenzano.
Yeah, Provenzano.
Yeah, Provenzano.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for inviting me back on your podcast.
Thank you. I figured it fits because tomorrow's my birthday and you're my cousin.
Tomorrow is your birthday, March 15th. I don't know if you want anyone to know that. Worst day in the universe, Denzel Crocker's birthday.
Yeah, the Ides of March. Julius Caesar got stabbed to death.
So last time you invited me on Christmas, and this time is your birthday, so, I wanted to bring a birthday gift for you. Because it's a very special occasion. You're going to be 29 this year.
I am.
You don't get to be 29
I basically am 29 this year.
So
I thought it was a balloon.
No, it's a gift. I got you a happy birthday
Wow,
gift.
thank you.
You're welcome. It's yours. You only get to be 29 once, Open it up. What's in there?
It's a banana for all the audio listeners. He got me a canister that has nutcrackers on it.
Nutcrackers.
I was going to say Cracker Barrels. It has nutcrackers on it. It is a Christmas-themed canister, and there was a banana inside of it. Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
As you get older, potassium is important, even though it gives you chest pains.
Yeah. Please give me back that canister, because I actually need it.
Okay, here you go. I'll give you the bag, too.
Thank you.
Can I keep the banana?
I guess.
All right. Cool. This banana is going to be on every episode from this point forward. We're going to see the progression of rot. I'm not going to do that. This is my home.
It'll be better than the last banana I gave you.
It was better than the last banana you gave me.
Good.
What was wrong with the last banana you gave me?
I don't know. You'll find out.
That's ominous. So, as you heard in the intro, I'm crying. But we're going to be talking about Polybius today, which is the mind control arcade game. It was a supposed government-funded arcade game that controlled minds. We'll get into much more detail.
Yeah.
The history with this episode, it goes very, very deep. Me and Matthew have been into this since we were kids. And it's weird because this has to do with like mind control and having everyone stay more or less at one conscious level so that the government could more or less tap into them when needed. Which is interesting because when we were going to do this episode, you called me and we were on the phone and you said, "Hey, I have a great idea for an episode." And I went, "Polybius."
And I said, "Yeah."
And you went, "Yeah." And then here we are.
But it was supposed to be a surprise from. I wasn't supposed to know about it.
Yeah, I was going to surprise you, and then you didn't even guess it. I guessed that you guessed
you ruined the surprise for
I
me.
would say I didn't. I would say that's a better ending than you guessing it, me being like, shit.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a better ending.
And also, we've been talking about this since we were kids. We've been weirdly fascinated with video game urban legends since we were children, and I think Polybius is probably the king of all video game urban legends.
To me, Polybius is the top of the because it's not just the game. Like GTA, when it comes to like Sasquatch, for example, right? That's a big video game mystery, but it's just it's a digital character in the game. Polybius is not. It's really not even about the game. It's about what the game could do to you and all the effects of it, and then what the potential fallout of having that type of experiment be run and what it could have potentially led to.
Yeah.
It's a little different than a shitty Polygon Sasquatch. So.
And it somewhat made it into the public stratosphere? No, what the
Lexicon.
Lexicon. Why did I say stratosphere, Andrew?
You're stupid.
It made it into the public Alexa. Is what you said.
Hey, hey Alexa? Haha, fuck you.
It was in an episode of The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know.
Yeah. It wasn't in the episode. It was in the background of an episode of The Simpsons. It's also in. It's in another show, like famous space show, where they go into like a collection of all like things they shouldn't have, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Rick and Morty. R.I.P.
Yeah, one of those.
And there's a Polybius in the background.
Did you
It's
say R.I.P.?
Yeah, it's dead. He's a fucking pedophile. But the whole thing is. It's just permeated. It's funny because there's like nothing.
Yeah.
Not to spoil it, but all right. My sources for this episode, since I'm going to read here, consist of posts by various supposed people involved, who we will learn about very soon. An article by Ryan Houlihan, which you could see my note here. You could see how I think in real time, because I wrote Chris Houlihan, Legend of Zelda Secret. We are in a simulation. Because Chris Houlihan, the Chris Houlihan room, which is another big mystery.
Yes.
Back in the day, they ran a contest. Chris Houlihan won, and then nothing was ever said about it, and everyone just thought it was kind of, nothing. No tribute was ever paid, and then weirdly, there was like some weird bug that allowed someone to find the room in Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which is super super cool.
The Chris Houlihan room was episode 1 of Pop Fiction, a video game show we watched as a kids. Shoot me in the head right now, because that is episode 1. I know it for a fact.
Yeah. And Polybius was. It had to be a couple episodes after that.
I don't know if they ever covered Polybius.
Really?
Because
That's so surprising.
I don't think there was any.
I guess because there's no game to play and all that. Yeah,
right.
That makes sense. Wow, I'm so surprised. I could have swore they covered it, I was actually prepared to talk about that, but I guess there's nothing to talk about.
Angry Video Game Nerd covered it.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
Maybe.
Yeah. And so Ryan Houlihan wrote the article Polybius is Real. And lastly, the documentary by Stuart Brown called Polybius, the video game that doesn't exist, which is a fantastic video. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that I leave out from that video, only because he did an absurd amount of research, and I do not want to just steal all of that. So realistically, I'm going to give you a lot of points. I'm going to go into detail about other things, but if you want the real little facts of what happened with all of this stuff and all of the research and who people could have been and all that stuff, go check out the video. It's going to be much more involved in that subject. But the Ryan Houlihan article, Polybius is Real, is also really great. It goes into a little bit more detail about some other stuff that we're going to cover as well. And just know that genuine sources for this story are genuinely very difficult to come by. So this is going to be a suspend your disbelief for this part of the episode type of episode. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Cool. With that being said, let's get to the story part of the episode.
You think you know about Polybius. You ain't seen nothing yet. Right? Tell him.
What? I don't know what the...
like your podcast is going to explore...
Oh, you're not going to fucking see this anywhere else.
There you go.
Don't watch anyone else's fucking shit. Oh, follow us on TikTok. Rate and review the show. I got a bunch of ratings and reviews that came in randomly.
Yeah.
Very much thank you for that.
They were all bots.
They are not bots. I didn't pay for them.
I did. I didn't want to.
I didn't pay for them.
It was also a birthday gift.
Thanks, man. That makes sense. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's filled out the reviews. It helps a ton. I can't imagine a better way to get this out to other people other than just telling them directly than writing a review. So please do that. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get into the story part of the episode now.
Let's do it. And for anybody watching on YouTube, when I look at my phone, it's not because I'm not paying attention to him. It's because I'm reading a script along with him.
Yeah, we had a little snafu. So we needed the iPad for a camera today because we are bare bones. So the story of the game starts in 1981, Portland, Oregon. At this time, arcades were in their golden age, with huge names such as Pac-Man and Space Invaders taking over the growing gaming industry. And because the industry was not yet the billion-dollar ecosystem that it is today, new games coming to your local arcade were a big deal. So when a cabinet showed up, everyone knew and everyone was excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, have you heard about the
new hopefully it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. You hear about the new arcade cabinet?
Yeah.
Have you played it? I got a high score. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
It was a much simpler time, but they didn't have DoorDash, so I'm going to say we win. Not only were there not many companies making games during this time, these games were run out of a very large, expensive, bulky cabinet. So it wasn't just like today, where a game gets put out and you buy a bunch of copies of it. You had to buy a fucking piece of furniture to run the game, and that furniture took... it would need to be fixed often. This is the beginning of this type of industry and this type of, electronics. So things went wrong a lot, things burnt out, and they had to figure out why. So there was a lot more to it than just buying the cabinet. There was upkeep and maintenance. So buying a cabinet was an investment for an arcade. They weren't going to just buy any cabinet just to throw up. They wanted to make sure everything was going to work correctly.
Yeah.
So this meant that getting a new cabinet was a big deal, like I said. So when the word got out of this new game called Polybius, everybody went a little fucking nuts, right? And everybody was going in to go play this game that was scary for, we're going to see.
Supposedly.
The game supposedly.
I could see the zoom in on your face when you do. I know what you're going to do.
I edit in real time in my brain now. The game supposedly arrived in a few small suburbs just out of Portland sometime in the fall of 1981. The cabinet was said to be plain and of the time, with the graphics of the name Polybius on the top. If you've ever seen the famous screenshot of the blue letters Polybius, you'll know what I'm talking about. Along with the name of the development company. Please work with me here. I was saying it out loud all day as I was typing it. Sinneslotion. Sinneslotion.
Nice.
Sinneslotion. I'm sorry. Sinneslotion. That is the very rough translation of a German word meaning the loss of senses. Remember that because we're going to get into that later.
Yeah.
The game had state-of-the-art graphics with the exact style being highly contested. A lot of people said it was like Tempest, which had a vector style. Other people said that it was the first isometric game. Either way, no one fucking knows. Right. The gameplay is described as abstract and puzzle-like, though it is impossible to determine with the limited information we have. And the name Polybius comes from the ancient Greek historian. But the game did have some wild side effects, which we will strangely know more about than the gameplay itself.
There was one time where I found a video on Polybius, and somebody in the comments wrote, "My brother played Polybius in the 80s. I swear to God, I saw this comment. My brother played Polybius in the 80s, and now he's in a mental asylum, and the only thing he can say is, I just want to play one more time." And that comment is true, because it's on the internet.
Yeah. I believe him.
Polybius?
Yeah.
I was trying to find a way to combine those two.
Either. Kids that played this game would often experience memory. Oh, my New York came out.
New York. Oh, we're from Staten Island.
Yo, bro, this kid would often experience memory loss.
Yeah.
Bacon egg. Kids that played this game would often experience memory loss after playing, sometimes losing chunks of time entirely. So 3-4 hours at a time, like we heard in the intro.
Yeah.
Once finished, those who played experienced a wide range of symptoms, including nausea, terrible nightmares, night terrors, could be the same thing, and even heart attacks and hallucinations. This is all said to be intentional, as the game is actually just a CIA-run program to study possible ways of new mind control. So more or less, the idea is that the CIA put out this machine, and they had the brain mapped out, right? And they were like, if you show someone certain things, can we trigger certain things to happen? From, like a little thing, like you just forget where, an hour at a time, to I could kill you by showing you a graphic. Like, is that possible? That was more or less what this would have been.
You know what my question is that, like, even if this, let's just say for a second that this is real, and these arcade cabinets really came out, and then they were gone.
We're going to say it is real for this part of the episode.
It is. Polybius is real.
Polybius is real.
So when it stopped, when they took the Polybius arcade cabinets that were real out of the real arcades in Portland, Oregon,
which is a real city,
which is on the planet, actually.
Which is real.
How do people know that it was the CIA? Why wasn't it just Nintendo that they put out a shitty arcade cabinet? They saw it was making kids nauseous. Mm-hmm. They went, "Oh shit, let's rip this out of the arcades," and then they never spoke of it again.
So that is a good question, my friend. And the answer is that the person that wrote it didn't say that.
They wrote what?
They wrote the CIA was involved. So that's where it's.
But what do you mean wrote it? Is it real?
Yeah.
You mean you? Because you wrote it.
No. No, it's a hard question to ask because realistically, you're 100% right. People in black suits don't always work for the CIA. They could just be on Wall Street or they could be executives at Nintendo. 100% right.
It's like I'm asking a question about Lord of the Rings. It's like, I don't know. It's just a book.
It kind of is. Yeah, I guess they could have just flew into Mordor, but they fucking didn't because it's a book and you need to write about it. Imagine how boring and uneventful it would have been if Gandalf showed up and said, "Frodo, let's bring the ring." And then they went, "Okay." And an eagle came down, and then they did it in 10 minutes. That would be the most boring story of all time.
But could that have happened?
It doesn't matter, you know? I don't even think it could have, really, because I think once they went to Mordor, they would have got shot down anyway. We've seen the arsenal.
Shot down.
I mean, to be fair, they have crossbows with flaming arrows. They're orcs.
I'm thinking of like Top Gun Maverick. As soon as they get in airspace,
I mean, they make the orc out of mud and the ground of Mordor.
Yeah.
You don't think they could shoot that at a fucking eagle?
No, I'm just imagining like a real ass turret from 2023. Let's get back to Polybius.
Sorry, my bad. So. Though it seems the program was unsuccessful, that being the CIA-run program, if you forgot, because we got into Lord of the Rings.
Right.
The children involved were said to have never played a video game again out of pure fear, which is the funniest part of the story of the game, because they played it, they couldn't remember 3 hours, they threw up, and that was like, I'm never playing a game ever again.
Hey man, you want to play Mario 3?
No. Why? Oh, this one time I got sick in an arcade. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? I'm sorry, this is all real. My bad.
This is real.
Sorry, this is real. I'm not trying to make fun of these
kids. Yeah. They can't play a video game.
Yeah.
They want to play Minecraft. They can't do it anymore.
They're weak. The game ran for about a month with men in all black suits, a.k.a. the Men in Black, often coming to the arcade and connecting a device to the machine, possibly to extract some data. Once word started to get around that something was wrong with this game, it was gone and would never be seen again. So that is the very, very, very drawn-out version of Polybius' story.
I have another question.
What? I'm
probably one of the more... Actually, I don't know that for a fact. I would say I'm among the more skeptical guests on your show. Mm-hmm. If like Men in Black is real...
They are.
Why dress like that? Why not just dress like funky colors?
Okay. To be fair... the idea was, during the time, it wouldn't be uncommon for a businessman to wear a black suit with a black tie and a white shirt.
Fair enough.
So the whole idea is that they're trying their best to match and blend in with society at the time, and then they just kind of never really need to touch it up or change their style because they're fucking interdimensional beings that could kill us anytime they want.
So in the 80s...
So it's just kind of like, let's blend in, and then they were just like, we don't blend in anymore, and they're like... Who cares? They already know we're here.
In the 80s, they didn't upgrade to like men in Hawaiian shirts.
No, in the 90s, they were the men of grunge. None of it happened, you know? But yeah, no, that's a good question. It's more of the time, and then it's just something that permeated so hard into the being of... Because really, they're just like interdimensional space cops, more or less, if you want to boil it down. And they don't need to wear a uniform. But the Men in Black thing, just because they're called Men in Black, it's just, how could they wear a blue suit?
I think that a lot of people don't realize that the legend of the Men in Black is that they're aliens, that they're not like actual people.
It's hard to say. It's not so much... It didn't start... It
we can talk about Polybius
as aliens.
If you want.
No, it's okay, because this all kind of plays into it. The Men in Black are part of it.
Okay.
It starts as Men in Black, as like aliens, and then with the introduction of other things like different theories that pop up from other UFO researchers and all that, it changes and becomes a different thing altogether. Mm-hmm. So did you just go on Twitter?
I'm just looking at my private messages. No, keep going, man.
I'm sitting here explaining Men in Black, and you're just like, yeah, no, totally. Scrolling on fucking Twitter. Don't worry, everybody. He's reading the script when he looks at his phone. So
I'm talking to nervous Nick. All right.
So yeah, the idea of the Men in Black, just again, it just came from a time when it made sense to have them look like that. The idea of them being aliens is kind of how they started, and then it became, depending on who you talk to, they're aliens, they're interdimensional speech creatures, they're just like, more or less like our gods. Mm-hmm. It's like the gods that we've always known, just in different forms. This is who they are.
That's funny.
To some people, they are future humans that learn time travel and all that type of stuff, and they're changing the future to guide it in the right way. Which is fun. That's a fun one.
That is fun.
And then there's the movie, which is, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock. That's the only thing I can think of.
So what do we know for a fact about Polybius?
Well, let's get to our next section. What we know for a fact. Thank you for putting that back on, because I would have just talked about the rest of the night. So unfortunately, while a great story, very little of this game has ever been recovered. That being a very old photo of a game cabinet, and it's like a fucking... It looks like it was taken in 1860. Mm-hmm. It's a black and white photo, and the only two colors, there's no gray. It's just black or white. That's it.
Yeah.
It looks like it was scanned 86 times. And a screenshot of the title screen, which again is a black screen. It says Polybius, and then it has the copyright symbol, 1981, Sinishlosen, and that's the company again. Mm-hmm. Though both of these images were highly analyzed in the documentary, I will just spoil it and tell you that he went into detail trying to find the color, the same font size, compare the font to other games of the time, found the arcade cabinet. It does absolutely nothing to push anything forward. So if you like that, I'm sorry. It's Stuart Brown, you're great. The video is great, but it's not... He does a better job. Just go watch the fucking... whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing could be gleaned from these photos whatsoever. They are just kind of useless. The company Sinishlosen, god damn it, Sinishlosen.
You got it.
Sinishlosen is almost entirely fake, with nothing about them available anywhere. There is no past games. There's no investments, like traces of investments. There's nothing. There's no sign of it whatsoever. ROMs have popped up over the years, as you know, we both know, but have all been clearly debunked and are genuinely not even worth bringing up.
Have you ever played a ROM?
Yeah.
Of Polybius?
Yeah.
I've never played one of them.
It's stupid. It's like it's either Tempest with more flashing colors, or it's just like a totally made up thing that has nothing to do with the game. There was a game that released on the computer in 2007, and then there was another game that was put onto the PlayStation Store in like 2012. I want to say
the Polybius game.
Yeah, and the last one I think was the most successful because it was pretty obvious that it wasn't trying to act like it was the real game. It was just like, hey, here's what it could be, and it's kind of cool. But it's, you're never going to get the thing that you're looking for. It's never going to happen. So no matter what you play, it's never going to feel right.
Yeah. I saw the ones on YouTube that would flash the word death on the screen.
Yeah, there's the one, it's the Atari one. Someone made like a fake Atari version of it, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's like you're going through a maze, and then it's just flashing like blood, but it's like goofy, fucked up letters because they have 6 pixels on screen.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. And lastly, the story is said to have originated on Usenet, an old forum, sometime in 1994. Though this has been easily debunked, as Google has acquired Usenet, and all of these forums were archived by a company before Google acquired Usenet. The company goes by, it's such a good fucking name, I can't remember it, it's just some random company, but it's really clever. They archived it first, and then they were acquired by Google, so the archives are fully available, and they haven't been changed since 1994. So you can't say that Google's hiding it, working with the government. It's all there.
Yeah.
So none of it was found with the word Polybius whatsoever in any of their archives. So it very well could be missing. Sure. It could just be gone. I don't think so, but whatever. Well, we do have an article in GamePro repeating all the info that we already know. There's really not much in that that's important to the story to give more info. But that is credited as what popularized the story totally. So the GamePro article is kind of what spread it to the masses. And we have a couple people who would come forward to explain their end of the story. So let's go through both of those and see if they're credible or not. And the reason I bring up the GamePro thing is because that happened before these two happened. So
okay.
We're going to start with the least credible first. This one is kind of hilarious. It's kind of Polybius.
Oh, get that.
No, imagine that would be...
You've done that before on my camera.
Yeah, it's so gross. Yeah. It just tastes like powder.
That was one of the hardest times I've ever laughed. You bit into a banana on camera.
Was it for...
It was the after credit scene for Martini Shot. You were sitting next to Zach Snowley on the subway.
Interesting.
And I just said, go crazy, and you bit into a banana.
Do you still have that?
Somewhere.
Can you send it to me?
Sure.
Check the TikTok. It's going to go up on TikTok. If you're interested in that, it'll be up there. You can see Andrew back in the day. Okay.
Oh, I got a lot of Andrew back in the day.
You have enough of Andrew back in the day to stop Andrew in the current day from doing anything in the future day. So, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so the first of the two goes by the name of PRG017. And we're just going to call him PRG.
Okay.
He claims to have been a programmer for Sega's arcade division. He claims Sega was being enlisted to make a game for a company called Sinishlosen, which had ties to governmental powers, though he did not know which country. So basically, he's like, the post is written like a 6-year-old wrote it. It's just 7 run-on sentences that's the entire thing, and it's like, they were so powerful, but I don't remember where they were from. Like, they told him, but he just didn't remember. And it's like, I feel like, you'd remember that. They claim they were given a map of the human brain and its reactions. By coding certain patterns into the game, they could stimulate those reactions, which is exactly what the shadowy corporation wanted, as I explained earlier. They developed it successfully and was sworn to secrecy. They signed paperwork and all that. But since playtesters were all going insane, PRG-017 decided to download the files, which got him promptly fired. According to him, the Sega CD in 1992, or whenever that came out, still contained the codes of Polybius from 11 years earlier, implying that it was successful and was actually being implemented into modern gaming. He claims that maybe one day he'll release the ROM. That is, if they don't get him first.
Hold on. Is he saying that a copy of Polybius
No.
is in every Sega CD?
No. So what he's saying is the code, the legacy code, so the main code of the game that caused the reactions, like the seizures and the time loss and the memory control and the mind control and all that, was then successful from Polybius and then used in other gaming consoles in the future. But here's my problem, right? Mm-hmm. We all remember the Sega CD.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be kind of unsuccessful if we didn't remember it, because every time we played it, we didn't remember what we played.
I mean, listen, like, if you want to tell me that, if you want to say that the code of Polybius was used in the Virtual Boy, it's pretty believable.
That's weirdly, the Virtual Boy is going to come up in a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it causes headaches.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think I'm getting headaches from Sonic Mania, or what's the one?
Maybe Sonic 06 might give you some headaches. This is a very video game centric episode. If you don't like video games, my bad. Get the fuck over it. All right, maybe go watch the rest of this episode.
What's the name of the Sonic game that was a ripoff of Mario Party?
Sonic Party.
No.
I know what you're talking about.
It was on the Sega. It wasn't even on the Sega CD. Get the cut.
Okay.
Sonic Heroes.
Though this story is interesting and plays into the legend really well, there's absolutely zero proof that any of this is true. In fact, this could be actively debunked by looking at the source code of the Sega CD, which contains nothing about mind control. It's that simple.
It's not going to be called mindcontrol.gov.
No, we have reverse engineered, okay? We're going to go into a thing that I love right now, okay? Minecraft.
Dicks.
Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
The game of Minecraft has been ripped apart, the code, to the point that people know that if you put a block here in this world, 7,000 blocks away somewhere, a reaction will happen, and this will spawn. It's gotten ridiculous, right? There's no way that if there was a CIA-run mind control program, we haven't found it in the Sega CD. There's just no fucking way.
Hey, man, we found Luigi in Mario 64 like 30 years later, so anything could happen, Andrew.
I mean, we are past that 30-year mark.
Shit. Continue.
And if the story of Polybius got this far, think about how quick that story would have got out and spread. I could say with all confidence that this is a random post that was lucky enough to get looped into the
Yeah, I'm surprised you even entertained this.
This is surprisingly, there's 2 people that come up fucking constantly when you're reading about Polybius and you're going through the forums and everything, and it's so dumb because they genuinely have absolutely nothing to do with it. This guy at least inserts himself into the story. The other guy, he's not even on this list because he didn't even say he did it. He actively was like, I didn't do it. It's not me. And people are like, it's that guy. If you know the story, you've been waiting for this to come up. We're getting into Stephen Roach.
Finally.
Stephen Roach. You know Stephen Roach?
Yeah, I was waiting. I was like, Andrew, where's Stephen Roach?
Yeah, he's right here. Stephen commented on a post which details the little info known of it. He claims to be a developer from the Czech Republic and is said to have founded Seneslotion with a bunch of other amateur programmers in 1978. He then explains how in 1980, a, quote, Southern American company, so I don't know if that's South America or like Southern North, like the United States of America, like Georgia.
What's the difference?
It does kind of make a big difference.
South America.
Yeah, because we'll get into why it makes a little bit of a difference later.
Yeah.
But yeah. He claims that this Southern American company cannot be disclosed due to legal reasons, but they approached him and his team and commissioned them to make a game. They were paid a lot more than normal, but he explains that this was due to high demand at the time and not really due to anything nefarious. He claims they created the game after many long, grueling hours and months and months of work, and had a finished product which they were very proud of, feeling like they were creating the next direction of gaming. The investors weren't really into it, and then after a small test market done in Portland, resulting in a kid having an epileptic fit just days after the test started. This caused the investors to abandon the idea altogether, and everyone involved just burned everything and moved on. So this story kind of attempts to make it like take all of the supernatural stuff away and be like, no, we were just a company, we made a game, it was maybe too flashy for the time, and it caused the kid to have a seizure randomly, and our investors pulled out. That is super realistic, right? But sure, this is just as true as everything else. Who the fuck is this guy? You know? Well,
can I ask you a question?
Of course, any day.
Because I feel like you're an expert when it comes to shit that doesn't matter.
Wow. I thanked you too early. I would also call myself an expert on things that no one needs to know. Yeah.
Has there ever been, because when you were describing that story to me, it sounded really interesting. Has there ever been anything in history, like maybe since 1900, whatever, has there ever been anything that sort of involves the government that they tried to do something, even it doesn't even have to do with the government, like something like whatever, a movie. They tried to make something and then it caused a shitty reaction, like an unhealthy reaction, so they said, oh fuck, and they abandoned everything, burned the evidence, and changed their name.
Yeah, sort of. You might know this too. In movie theaters back in the day, there was a movie theater, I don't know if it was the theater or the company that owned the theater. They were like a larger company, and they started experimenting with like subliminal messaging. And they would flash like popcorn or Coke in the middle of the movie, like so fast that you don't see it, and it didn't work. But there were laws that were written for that, because they were like, you can't fucking do that. That's weird as fuck. What are you doing? Yeah. So yeah, there were laws written about that. So
interesting.
There's subliminal messaging isn't allowed. And then Marilyn Manson made a movie that isn't. His lawyers advised him that if he released it, he would go to prison.
What is it?
It's like a semi-scripted torture porn movie, basically, where he tortures two fans on the road. And there's a lot of speculation that it's not fake, and that the reason that he said that he would go to prison if he releases because it's real. And you can't just torture people. It's against the law.
Well, he's a very grounded individual, so...
Yeah, I mean, listen, the meth has done a lot for his brain. It's really brought him back down to earth. If there's one thing that meth does, it helps you sleep at night. You know, with a sound brain in mind.
But yeah, you were describing that, and it made me think that, has that ever been successful, where someone, like a company caused something that had such a bad effect that they closed everything down, changed their names, forgot it ever happened, and now it's an urban legend?
No. And that's a good indication that this didn't happen the way that he's saying. Is because we've seen this happen a bunch of times. I mean, there was the first season of Pokemon had an episode that caused kids to have epileptic seizures. It was
I thought you were going to talk about a story in that show.
No, the first episode of Pokemon told you that no matter what, you can be friends. You know, you just need to save him from dying in the rain. But it's...
No, you're right. That did cause seizures.
Yeah, it caused seizures. It got banned, and they made their Pokemon still running on TV. So, yeah. It's one of those things that I think Stuart Brown in the video probably says it the best, right? Is when a story is said and the wording is super dramatic and everything is meant to get a reaction, almost definitely it's not true.
Yeah.
In the way that it's being told, at least.
Because I feel like what would have happened is that they released Polybius, it's having all these damaging effects on kids, and then they say, we're sorry, we didn't mean to do that. We were just making a video game.
Exactly.
And then they troubleshoot.
And if this was really
money.
a government project, I don't think just seeing how they handle other things, like MKUltra ran for fucking 20 years before they got shut down. And there were people talking about it at the time of them performing it. Yeah. They didn't shut it down.
Yeah.
Why would they shut it down like that? Just because 6 kids threw up.
Yeah, make another arcade
game. It's a weird thing. Again, the story is outlandish, but this isn't the only post that we've gotten from Stephen Roach. He also did an interview shortly after this.
Go on.
Can I get one?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Fucking jerk. It's unbelievable that I asked right at that second, you piece of shit. He also did an interview where he said that he was born in Wales, but moved to the Czech Republic for his parents' import and export business. And now, with the picture I sent you yesterday is going to make sense soon enough. Yesterday, I sent Matthew a picture, and it just showed the Wikipedia page for the economy of the communist Czech Republic from 1970 to 1982.
And the caption said, "This episode's going to be great."
On another forum, separate from that interview, the forum is known as retrogamer.net. Very difficult to find things on now because the archives all link back to Twitter. So you have to use the Wayback Machine if you're interested. Someone by the name of Stephen Roach would start to post, starting with the exact same story word for word, and then expanding on the topic, answering questions of people that were asking questions on the post. He was just answering questions and using that to go into detail. He went into more detail about the graphical style and the play style, offering more than ever before about Polybius. But Stephen Roach was quickly found to be a hoax by Stuart Brown. First off, Stephen Roach claims to have moved to the Czech Republic in the late 60s from Wales, the reason being his parents' import and export business. But as I said, at the time, the Czech Republic was held tight by the Communist Party and they were a communist-run country, meaning they had limited U.S. exports. Limited Western exports, meaning that the only countries that they got imports from, for the most part, a large majority of their economy was imports and exports going to other communist countries, mostly the Soviet Union. Okay.
Go on.
What is my life? They were limiting Western imports heavily and exports heavily, only contributing to 30% at most, that is generous, of the imports and exports coming in and out of the Czech Republic could have come from a Western country. This means that his parents would have had to knowingly limit themselves to 30% of the market that they were usually working with, and then on top of that, move to that country. Just doesn't make any fucking sense. Also, I did put, of course, they could just be dumb. Because, of course, someone could make the terrible business decision to do that, thinking that they're going to be there when the... Also, mind you, that in 1978, right? 1968, like 3 years before they want to move there, there was a major revolution in the country that was failed and squashed and was still communist, and they were actively fighting, politically, against the Western world. I don't understand why someone from Wales would move there for an import-export business. It just makes no sense. He could have chosen any other country.
Yeah.
Whatever. Stephen also claims that one of the programmers he worked with at the time came up with the name, as he was studying Greek mythology at the time. Now, this is a direct oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I'm going to be like Michael Barbaro. You don't know who he is because you don't listen to the Daily.
No. Okay, cool. But this is a direct oxymoron, as Polybius not only had nothing to do with Greek mythology, but he is often credited as pioneering the job of the historian, documenting things that he could provide, he could prove with eyewitness testimony. So not only would he not even come close to being associated with mythology, he actively hated that people thought that the history of Rome and Greece was mythology. Greece, not Rome, was mythology. He hated that.
Mm-hmm. This is about an arcade cabinet.
And lastly, a moderator on retrogamer.net revealed that this is the nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
All of the replies to Stephen at the time of his posting and the time of the questions all came from the same IP address, meaning that the same person, or at least the same place, was posting every single question and answer in that post.
Hilarious.
So not only... And the reason that they checked it was because the forum had never had that much activity before. They were like, why are there so many people asking this one dude questions? So they checked it out and they were like, oh, it's the same fucking guy.
So it was one guy making multiple accounts.
Yeah, and we don't even know if it's the same dude that did the interview, and we don't even know if the guy that did the interview is the same guy that wrote the comment on CoinOps, which is his original comment about being in the Czech Republic and the game and all that.
Yeah.
They could be three totally different people. We have no idea. Just riding the fucking wave.
Jesus Christ.
Stupid.
It is
stupid.
It is objectively stupid.
Yeah, it's objectively stupid. And Stuart Brown, who I will trust enough to say that he did actually get in touch with Stephen, and I say that because we don't know Stephen's real name. He blocks everything out. He could be lying. I don't think he is. And shockingly, he didn't give any new information, and the trail ends there, making Stephen very likely a hoax. This is the point in the story where I give Stuart Brown all his credit, because he saved me weeks and weeks of digging. I am not joking. Stuart Brown claims that he searched well above 200 gigabytes of archived websites, newspapers, books, and magazines, going all the way back to basically the 50s, just to make sure that there isn't a word of a Polybius game. There is nothing. There is not a single article. There's no books. There's no other websites, no magazines, nothing mentioning Polybius after a certain point.
It's kind of sad.
And with all that, it seems to lead back to coinop.net, the site with the oldest found post of Polybius, which was on February 6, 2000 at 10:23 a.m. That page is still up if you want to go check it out.
So someone's waking up in their bed all snuggly on a Saturday morning, and then there's like one eye, blear eye open. They just go on their phone, and they create the biggest video game hoax of all time.
We're going to get into
10 o'clock in the morning.
Now, the coinop.net, again, that's where basically everything starts, because the original story comes from coinop.net. As we could see, like I said, it supposedly goes back to 1994 to Usenet. Most likely, that was a rumor perpetuated by guy Kurt, who owns CoinOps. So we're going to get into coinop.net now.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
As we stated, Brown has found that the oldest known mention of Polybius found on the internet is on coinops.net, meaning that this very well could be the origin of the post about Polybius, the story itself. The man who owns the site goes by the name of Kurt Kohler, and that is his real name. And he is the one who would have posted the original page for Polybius, being the administrator of the site. He ran it himself. It is a community-run site, so things were put up by the community, and there was information filled in by the community and all that. But Kurt, at this time, he more or less had to like proofread it before you put it up. So even if someone else wrote this, he intentionally put it up. So he at least had some hand in the legend itself. Brown, of course, digs into Kurt and the post as much as possible and uncovers that Kurt is also the one that submitted the story to GamePro for the article, the one that popularized it. And as per the author of the article, that has been confirmed. So he got in touch with the game. So as per the author of the article, like I said, it was confirmed that he was the one that got in touch with GamePro and gave them the Polybius story. This is all very damning for Kurt, as well as him being an enthusiast for arcade games and owns quite a few, making the photos easy to fake. Kurt is also kind of known for doing like weird internet stunts. There was something that he did with Taco Bell that he kind of got like early internet famous for, where there was like a site that featured like a thing. He just made up something about Taco Bell, and then it became big on the internet, and people just thought it was hilarious. So
really,
he was known for that before this, which is kind of weird. And then there is the word Sinneslotion, which we never really got into who the company is, other than that it's probably fake. The word is German, and as we stated earlier, it very roughly translates to loss of senses, but in a very non-native way, as it literally translates to senses to erase. So it's like you took the word senses and then the verb to erase and put them together.
Okay.
And I have a little story to give context to like what the equivalent in English would be. When we were kids, German was born in Uzbekistan and then moved here when he was a kid, right? So his English when
you have a friend named German.
My friend German, yeah. I just assume everyone knows who he is. My friend German. If you watch the interview with Carla, that is his fiance.
Yes.
So, there we go. So German he grew up speaking English, obviously, but he learned English as a kid when he moved here. So when we were kids, his English it wasn't that it was not great, but you could definitely hear that he wasn't from here. He had an accent, right? Yeah. And one of the things that I immediately thought of when I was trying to think of an example of how badly translated this is when we were kids, every day after school, we went to the same grammar school. On the bus ride home, I would say, do you want to hang out? Do you want to go outside and play? Whatever. And he would say, I just have to do my homework and then I'll come out, right? I want to say this was his 8th grade or like freshman year of high school, whatever, but he got more work than he normally had. And it had been like a string of weeks where he was just getting a lot of work. So I was like, German, you're not going to come out to play today. And he said, I don't really have that much homework. So I said, how much do you have? And he looked at me and just went, medium. And we still talk about it. We still think it's funny.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is the perfect example of this. Because like you get the point. You understand what he's trying to say. But it just doesn't make sense to a native speaker. doesn't make sense to a native speaker. So why'd you say that?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing for this. It's very obviously not written by someone who knows German. Or if they do, they're trying to more or less get off the fact that they might know German. But most likely written by a non-German speaker. And you wouldn't know that Kurt seems to have had an interest in learning German at the time of this post. And I swear to God, he added German to the languages on the website, which he curates himself. So there were like 4 languages, and it was like English, Spanish, something else, and then German, which he added, and then he would curate himself. So he had at least some brush with the German language. And I know it sounds very nitpicky, and it is very nitpicky, but including all the other evidence with Kurt, it kind of puts everything in perspective.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So this really makes the Polybius myth seem like a successful marketing scheme by Kurt himself. By getting the article into GamePro, he was able to get the myth in front of millions of people's eyes, 3 million monthly listeners if you trust GamePro, and all those people who searched for Polybius were led right to coinop.net. This increased traffic and kept the site afloat even for just a little bit. And though Kurt has never admitted to it, it's safe to see him as the most reasonable culprit for the actual Polybius myth as we know it.
Son of a bitch. So Polybius was a marketing
scheme to get people onto his website. Yep.
Wow.
It seems that way because he had done a couple other things to try to get people onto the site that didn't work. And then I think he just threw this up. And one of the big things is like, this is a website that is made to archive video game knowledge as accurately as possible. And then there's just this one post that if someone that wasn't Kurt posted it, right, you think that they would have taken it down because there's no fact to it. They can't prove anything. There's no information. And it was up for how many years and they never took it down. And all of the comments other than a handful, like, you know, Stephen Roach and all the other people that claim that they played it, most of the other comments are like, this is fucking bullshit. Why is this here? Like, get this off.
Yeah.
So if you ran a website about ducks and you decide to one day post a picture of a dog and the entire website's like, why the fuck did you do that? Why would you leave it up for now what's going on 20 years?
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. So now that we have the origins of the story itself and all that, is there any truth to it? And why is it so easy to kind of believe that this could happen? And strangely, yes, there is some truth to the story in a weird, you know, I guess there's no truth to the story. It's just, it's just the ideas of all of these things have kind of happened in other ways, and you can see that. Okay. So a lot of the story could be broken down and attributed to other events entirely, giving the whole story this air of realness by being just vague enough to make you think that you may have remembered hearing about this back in the day. So let's break it down one point at a time, starting with the mind control. Obviously, MK Ultra is going to make an appearance. Operation MK Ultra. For those not knowing what it is, it's when the government worked from the late 50s to the early 70s. I want to say 72 or 73, and 1973. They worked for it was 20-ish years trying to figure out ways to perform mind control on people and to more or less control people wholeheartedly to be like the perfect soldier without knowing that they're soldiers. That was the whole thing.
And it's completely true.
It is completely true. It's been proven. It was probably the longest running government conspiracy from the 70s on up until it was proven, which is why so many conspiracies now don't go away like they used to, and they don't get thrown as like, this is really stupid, because MK Ultra is really dumb if there was no proof. It's just the fact of it. They did some really stupid things as well as some really fucked up things. It was all from, they would dose each other with acid, they would drop it in their drinks because they thought it was funny and just see their reaction, all the way to giving someone enough ketamine to kill them in minutes. And these were usually random innocent soldiers that they were doing this to, that volunteer for something they didn't know. So this type of mind control experimentation has happened, did happen, and could still be happening. This could still be a secret government project somewhere. I don't think it is, but it could be, right?
Do you think there's anything that's like a visual that someone can make that can control you?
No, I do not. I think that is, that's one of those things that's like from a time that's just passed. I just don't think anything like that exists.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a sound that can make you do things. I don't think that I just don't. Because if that was true and it was real, someone would have taken advantage of it that wasn't a government. Like someone would have found that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the government isn't the only people experimenting into things like this. And if someone was to figure this out somewhere in their basement, which probably would happen before the government did, just by chance, that person would be, you know, very famous. We would know that person. And if the government did it, we would know by this point if it was working or not. You know, but I could just be wrong.
But that's just a theory. Go on.
Okay. It was also around this time that a few kids and young adults died while playing at arcades. There's the famous story of Jeff Daly, who famously died, of a famous heart attack while playing Berserk.
What?
This is like the most famous of these stories, famously. I said it 8 times.
This is famous.
This Berserk story in itself started its own legend, which it's a whole nother thing.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, this is one of the oldest video game legends as well. We'll get into it. And though doctors clearly stated that he had unknown heart problems before he played Berserk, obviously, the blame fell on Berserk, even causing its own legend stating that if you die in the game, you die in real life. That's where that comes from, is Berserk. The idea of it, when you play this game, it's so real that if you die in the game, you will physically die, comes from Jeff Daly, this kid.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a kid?
He was a kid. He was like, I think he was 17, 18.
Still, that's crazy.
Yeah, and he had an underlying heart issue. They said that he had scarring on his heart, which was indicative of a heart problem that they just didn't know. Obviously, this kid didn't die from playing fucking Berserk. What they think is the stress of the game, like the excitement, got his heart racing, and unfortunately died of a heart attack. And there are plenty other examples of these types of incidents in the early days of arcade, making the Polybius story much more believable. There's a kid that played, I want to say Space Invaders for like 18 hours straight for a tournament, and he wound up getting really sick and almost dying, if not dead. There was a kid that had plenty of epileptic seizures back in the day from flashing lights. Vector games kind of cause problems. You've played vector games before. If you've ever seen one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, the only way I could describe it is instead of there being pixels, everything is lines. So everything is made from point A to point B, and the lines form things. So it's a very specific style, but there's a lot of flashing lights and movement, which could cause seizures, which is why it's not really prominent anymore. So all of these kind of do add to, again, the idea that you could die in an arcade playing games.
Yeah, if they
from a supernatural force.
If they want to say that there was an arcade game called Polybius that caused headaches and eyesore, yeah, I believe every arcade game causes headaches.
100%.
If you look close enough.
As much as arcades are great and they're wonderful, and we go to Yestercade all the time. We love going there. Arcade cabinets aren't like really the most comfortable things on planet Earth. They're awkward. You're standing there in a weird position. If you play for too long, like you just don't feel good. You just got to move around and do shit. And if you stand there for 18 hours, I'm going to say you're probably going to have some type of health issue. Like that's not, you got to pee. You hold in your pee for 18 hours. That's not good for your bladder.
Yeah. That's where this whole conspiracy stemmed from. Someone just had to pee.
Yeah. It's really, Polybius, it's just pee.
Polybius.
Yeah, they were like pee. And then it grew.
Polybius. Never mind. Go ahead.
And this was the most interesting part of the story that is, I would say this is my contribution to the story, is this little part here. And I love this. Okay. As for the government agents coming in black suits and downloading info off of the Polybius cabinets, quote unquote, this actually doesn't, this actually does find some roots in a real life event. During the same time that Polybius would have happened, between 1980 and 1982, there was an actual government-run operation including arcade machines with the FBI. Back when arcades first started to pop off and become a huge thing, they were wrongly labeled as a place where kids could go and gamble and party and do drugs, and more or less there's just this dark place and parents had no idea what the fuck video games were. They're like, these kids obviously have to be doing narcotics. Or they would just straight up get robbed, which was an actual problem at arcades at the time. Though some of these are rightfully earned, it was blown out of proportion incredibly, but the FBI decided to monitor some arcades using cameras in the arcade cabinets. And this is very interesting. The reason, I think, that Tempest is the game that everyone always points to, and the one with the vector graphics, and why people feel like they heard this on Usenet in 1994, going all the way back, and why they've heard this before, was because Tempest machines specifically were used to put cameras in because they had a glass front, so you could hide the camera and it wouldn't be seen whatsoever. So the FBI's were hiding cameras in those Tempest machines, and the owners of the arcades didn't even know.
That's real?
Yes. and they were going in, and this was all run between the years 1980 to 1981 or late 1982 in Portland. And they were FBI agents going in and getting data and coming out and bringing arcade cabinets in and out.
That's real.
Yeah. This is Polybius.
So that's...
this is Polybius. We know what it is. This is a real thing.
So that's really what Polybius was.
I'm going to say this is why these types of stories are like, oh, this could have happened. I think I heard about that. And then you just think, oh, yeah, it was Polybius, but it probably wasn't. It was probably Tempest or fucking Pac-Man.
So in some ways, this is like... Because the story of Polybius, this arcade game that was mind-controlled, all this stuff, that story is fake.
Yeah.
But this story... of
these three stories, MK Ultra, kids dying of heart attacks, and the FBI monitoring arcade games, smashed into Polybius.
I think all of that caused somewhat of a Mandela effect for someone to then come up with a story.
Exactly.
And
it
fake a story.
Again, it makes it just vague enough where you're like, I remember that happening.
Yes.
Because you'll just, memory's weird. You'll push a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
This is why I have a script. So it's, I really think this is where it could have came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So, two things. I'm sorry. In conclusion, this is going to make you laugh. Do you have any questions? Anything to say?
Am I done?
In conclusion, as much as I adore this story, and I know you do too, of course I believe that this isn't real talks. There is next to no evidence saying otherwise, obviously, and until new info comes to light, the mystery seems to be dead. There is hope, as Kurt did post an update on the Polybius page years after the whole thing, and it reads, and I quote,
Okay.
Quick update. We just wanted to go on the record here to say that Stephen Roach is full of himself and knows nothing about this game. We have it on good authority. No, Polybius is not Tempest Prototype. No, Polybius is not a Vector game. Does the title screen look like Vector? No, it does not. We've recently received some new information about the game. And yes, one of us is flying to Kiev, Ukraine, the area today and tomorrow. And yes, the trip is related to this information. Stay tuned. Now, this was on May 16th, 2009. So never stop staying tuned, audience. And with that, it's the end of Polybius, the mind control arcade game.
There have been like 30 Marvel movies since then.
I love that. I read that and I was like, when was this posted? It's 2000. I was like, wow.
What happened in Kiev?
I don't know. There's somebody right now that's just sitting at their computer just waiting. Like, one of these days, man, it's going to pop up.
So that was the most recent update
That
of
is
Polybius.
the most recent update of Polybius, technically.
2009. Wow.
Is Kurt saying, first of all, fuck Stephen Roach. Second of all, stay tuned. I'm coming. More info.
Wow.
And Kurt's not dead, so it's not like he was like disappeared or anything. Kurt opened up the website again after 2021, claiming that he had a renewed passion for running the site. So the site is back up and running.
So Kurt is still doing his thing.
Kurt is still doing his thing. And the CoinOp site, to be fair, because of Polybius, did become a very large community of people for, retro arcade games and just console games in general. So it did successfully work. I mean, they did cement themselves as one of the most important retro gaming websites out there.
And it was because of Polybius.
And it was all because of Polybius. And it's genius. Like, making this type of myth and then sending it to a game magazine that's brilliant. That's like super smart.
Yeah, for that time period.
For that time specifically,
foresight.
Yeah. And to be fair, I guess it was more common to do that with magazines because you didn't have Twitter. You fucking jerk off. But,
So
that's Polybius.
Question.
Yeah.
If you started an urban legend, if you just kind
I've
of
thought about this my whole life.
almost accidentally, where you put something online and you said it was just something about the evil milkman of the West from the 1990s, and you took a picture of someone, like a blurry picture of a milkman, and it spread like wildfire. And now the entire internet is obsessed with finding the milkman. What would you then do? Would you come out and say,
No.
this is fake?
Nope.
You would let it Go on.
100%. I live for these stories.
So if someone were to contact you,
I wish Stephen Roach wasn't real. I wish this never happened, because I wish Kurt, no one knew who he was. I want to believe this story is real.
But no,
I don't want to be proven wrong.
No, what I'm saying is, if you made the story yourself, and people contacted you and said, like, Andrew, please, is it we need more information about the milkman? Like, we know, is it fake? Is it, what would you do?
Is it fake? Do you hear that? It's the ringing of the milkman. Watch out. And best wishes, Andrew. Yeah, no, I'm not saying shit.
So
if I ever start a myth or a legend, just know it's fucking false. I lied to you.
Because I feel like that's what's common about all of these urban legends, like Polybius and even like, you know, the Patterson Gimlet footage of Bigfoot and like the Loch Ness monster image.
Logs.
Is that what it's called?
Logs.
Logs.
No, they were logs.
Oh, they were logs. Yeah. So I would think that it's like 1 or 2 or 3 people intentionally starting an urban legend and like taking a blood oath, like, we're not fucking telling anybody.
So it depends on why they created it. From my experience reading about all this shit, right? There's 2 reasons why people create shit like this. It's either they have like a, you know, financial gain or something like that, or they really truly believe in what they're talking about, but they fake something to try to get you to put your foot in, just so that they could say, okay, here's all the other evidence now that you're here.
Yeah.
So that's like Bigfoot prints, people that find chupacabra bodies, like all that type of stuff. It's never been, you know, obviously none of that is useful for the most part. There are footprints that are interesting, but none of it is useful for the most part. And those things are just there to kind of get you hooked so that you now are a Bigfoot hunter. Like my cousin Andy.
Right. When you think about the story of Polybius, it's very interesting when you think about it from that angle of someone behind their laptop just coming up with the story. And then this happened.
It's
and then
classic
this happened.
internet.
Yeah.
You know, it's Slenderman. It's all of those fucking creepypastas.
Because there's millions of these stories. Yeah. This one just so happened to blow up.
I mean, and to be fair, I feel like this is the story that kind of led to things like all the video game creepypastas that we know, like Ben Drown and all like the random, I went to this yard sale and bought a cartridge and this would happen. Like all of that came from these types of things because people are obviously obsessed with this. There's something weird about mysteries with media because there's like this weird, it's either I need to see that or this is going to cause you harm.
Yeah.
And it's like so weird of why we're so obsessed with that happening when there's no case in history of it ever happening. When has media ever murdered us directly?
I don't know, but I love it.
Ever.
I love all of it.
I definitely could probably find some examples of that, so I'm going to retract that statement.
Yeah, there's
100% there's media out there that's killed people. But like The Exorcist caused heart attacks. Shout out last episode if you're interested in The Exorcist.
I'm sure
with The Exorcist that inspired The Exorcist. Go check that out.
There's Terrifier 2 caused people to vomit in the movie theaters.
That's fucking sick. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, a movie in 2022 made people vomit in movie theaters. That's a movie worth seeing. You should see Terrifier. You're in it.
I'm in Terrifier 2.
You're in it. Terrifier 2.
I'm the star of Terrifier 2.
Yeah, you are. You terrible.
I'm in it for so long.
Fucking
every frame.
What's that?
I'm in it for literally one frame.
But you are in it.
Yes,
so it
I play a trick-or-treater.
But yeah, so that's the story of Polybius. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was really special for me, really special for Matthew.
Yeah.
And
can I be honest, Andrew? This felt very cathartic after 20 years of talking about this fucking arcade cabinet.
I know. Doing the research, I was in my glory. I sat here basically naked for 14 hours, fucking watching videos on my TV. I have stuff on here playing. I'm reading forums like. It was the best. It was the best day of research I've had in a long time. It
feels like we finally put Polybius to bed.
Yeah, and the fact that with the whole like the FBI angle too, I'm so happy I found that because that does so much for my brain because that kind of that kind of gives me like the holy shit it could be real feeling.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
It keeps it alive.
Keeps it alive.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Jess, you texted me earlier. I'm going to come all over you tonight.
I did.
That was really funny.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna do it.
I'm really happy I got to get into the intricacies of the economy of Communist Czech Republic.
Me too. I got to be honest.
1970 and 1982.
I was not paying attention to that section. I was looking at the rim of your glasses and the light on your hat.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Basically what I said. No. Okay. Thank you so much. Make sure you rate, review. Go check it out. Tell your fucking family. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell your dog. Tell your cats. Tell your birds. about the show. Tell them about the show. Don't just tell them anything.
The tub when I take a bath.
That one really got Chris. Just make sure that you. How can I end this one?
I don't know, man.
Watch out.